Oh hey, welcome back to Then We Eat. This week we'll be doing something pretty nice. It's the end of the season, so obviously we've got lots of basil around. And the other thing we have a lot of is tomatoes. So today, let's make some roasted tomato and basil soup. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up the temperature of the pot to about a medium-high heat, and we'll add about, a tablespoon of olive oil or so. Okay, so what we have here is we have one potato, I'll explain that in a minute, and then one small Vidalia onion. You can use any onion you like. This time of year, Vidalias are available and they're really good. And then one pepper of your choice. We happen to have an orange one, that's what we'll put in. Red is fine too. And it goes. And we're going to let this cook just till the potatoes start to brown a little bit around the edges, and the onions start to get a bit translucent. So the potato. The idea of the potato is this. Normally tomatoes have a lot of liquid in them, so it's really tough to get like a nice creamy tomato soup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one potato, which will help thicken up the broth, and then we'll add a little bit of cream at the end just to give it the flavor of the cream. So that's the idea of the potato. So at this point, I'm just going to add a little bit of pepper. I'm not going to do salt yet, but a little pepper at this point is a good thing. So we'll put in, I don't know, just half a teaspoon or so. Okay, so once you've got the onion translucent, then what we're going to add is 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. And one more is 3. And then when you have it nicely combined, we're going to add the broth. So in this case, we're going to add 4 cups of the chicken broth that you saw in one of our previous videos. So this is the homemade chicken broth that we made for the winter. So if you haven't seen that video yet, check it out. It's either here or here, and then you'll know how to make the broth as well. So we'll put in the 4 cups of broth. Okay, so we're just going to let this come up to a boil, and then just as it's about to come up to a boil, I'm going to taste it and see if it needs any salt. Well, you've heard this 1,000 times. We're pretty picky about how much salt we use, but generally speaking, at that point is a good time to check it prior to putting in the tomatoes. And I'm just scraping any of the little bits off the bottom that got stuck while it was frying. All good flavor. So rather than bore you, bottom line is bring this up to a boil, and then lower it down to a simmer. The idea here is just to soften the potatoes down to fork tender. Once they're down to fork tender, then we'll carry on with the next step. So about 10-15 minutes. All right, so as you can see, potatoes are fork tender now. So we're good to move on to the next step. So the next step is the roasted tomatoes. Now there's 2 ways you can do them. You can either do them in the oven. So you're gonna put it at about 425. What we've done is there's about 8 cloves of garlic on here. The Roma tomatoes, the reason we used Roma is they're nice and fleshy. We put some olive oil, salt and pepper, gave them a bit of a mix. In our case, we didn't use the oven, we used the barbecue. So we got a nice fire roasted flavor to these. So we're gonna add this into the pot now. And again, scrape off what you can off the sheets. It's all good flavor. And you certainly wouldn't want to lose any of that garlic. So once you got the tomatoes in, just give them a bit of a, I'm just going to let these reheat just a bit because we had put these on the barbecue earlier this morning. All right, and then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add 2 cups of fresh basil that we picked this morning. So we'll put that in as well, and then we're just going to cook this just long enough to soften the basil. I should point out I did test it as well, and I did add a little bit of salt. Because it was homemade broth with no salt, there wasn't really a lot of salt in any of the other ingredients, so I did add a little bit. And you seriously only want to do this for 1 or 2 minutes. All right, so it's been a couple of minutes. I can kind of tell by the basil. It's still got a nice green color to it. It's not overcooked. It's just kind of softened, and that's all you want to do. You don't want to overcook it. So at this point, generally what you would do is you would get a immersion blender, a stick blender, and you would do right in the pot. Unfortunately, ours caught fire, so we are going to do it in the blender today. So let me blend this off screen. We'll come back and we'll show you the finished product. So once you have the tomatoes all pureed, then we're going to put it back in the pot. And we're just going to turn it on low, just enough to start to reheat it a bit. It shouldn't need a lot because it's still pretty hot. And then very lastly, we're going to add about 1/2 of a cup of cream. I'm going to check after I'll add 1/2 of a cup, and then we'll see if it needs a little bit more. Once again, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a taste to check to see if it needs any more salt or pepper. So we'll give it a taste. And it needs a little bit of both. Yep, I'd say that tastes pretty good. So let's put her in a bowl and we can give it a taste and we'll go from there. All right, so we've put a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top, a little bit of freshly ground black pepper, and a couple of basil leaves just for garnish. So let's give it a try, see how it is. Oh wow, you can really taste the char and the smoke from the barbecue. If I had my choice, I would definitely use the barbecue to do the tomatoes, not the oven. I've done it both ways. I've never done it on the barbecue before till today. Amazing, really, really good. So, don't forget, like this video if you liked it, share it with all your buddies, and hit the subscribe button to be notified whenever we put out a new video, which we try to do every week. So don't forget, we put the recipes down below so that if you can't keep up while you're watching the video, you can check out the description for the recipe. So thanks for watching, and don't forget, first we cook, then we eat. Oh man, that is so good.